Our next guest says President Obama's campaign of hope and change has become one of tax and hate. Fired up and ready to take the administration to task, we welcome back to Happy Hour Republican Congressman Thaddeus McCotter. Tax and hate, huh?
Well, I think as you can see, the demonization of opponents of the president, especially in private sector, when they're trying to pass a piece of legislation, if you oppose them, all of a sudden you are ascribed with all manner of evil motivations and actions. That is not what we saw in the 2008 election. That is not how America wants to be governed now. If it's truly about hope and change, then let's work together to do it. But if it's about advancing a radical agenda that I believe is injurious to the American people, to our free market, to the economy recovering, then we shouldn't be running around saying that it's this insurance company, it's this individual. And at the end of the day, what happens? They pretend that they're protecting you against these special interests. The reality is the biggest special interest in America is the federal government. And the Democrats are running around like it's lobbyists. And I don't think that that's particularly helpful to where we are today.
Okay, well, we have to do it. Someone's going to do it. Please, listen, you're a good friend. We spend a lot of time on TV. Let me shake your hand before I ask you this. What about your constituents in the auto industry? What about the bailouts? I mean, they certainly were thrilled about getting, I don't know, upwards of $80 billion from the federal government, no?
Well, and as we've talked before, according to Moody's, had the entire manufacturing sector gone under, you would have had $300 billion in costs that you would have had no chance of recouping. The United States would have had no manufacturing ability. And good news, as you're seeing with Ford, which did not take the bailout money but was supportive of it, they have the highest approval rating of any car company in the country. Even GM now has gone ahead of Toyota. The quality reports that are coming out are moving ahead, and GM is paying back the money. This would not have happened had this been social safety net spending.
Well, no, so, in other words, if Moody's will say that socialized health care is good for America, then you're on board with that, too?
No, but you have to have the reality that if you allow the manufacturing sector to go under...
So what does Moody's have to do with it at all? It's your opinion, not Moody's, that matters here.
It's an estimate of cost. Can you tell me that there would be no social costs incurred from the United States manufacturing sector, from the private auto companies that domestically own?
Yes,
and
it's called freedom, free market.
The safety net that is in place, which you libertarians so despise, would still be in place, and the cost would be incurred, and those would not be recouped by the taxpayers at any point, because it would be costs right out the door.
Well, one thing about Moody's, though, boy, they were really wrong when it came to predicting all this mess in the mortgage-backed securities. They were rating all that stuff, you know, A+ and AAA ratings. Let me also get your thoughts then on, we were talking about the bailouts for Wall Street, you know, welfare for Wall Street. You agree, disagree?
No, I disagreed at the time, and I still continue to do so. I think that what you had was a situation where there were ways that you could have gone, much like the autos went through, the prepackaged bankruptcy, to try to sort that out and save the expense of just having the taxpayers throw $700 billion at this problem, which has not gone away. And as you know at the time, and as you've railed against, rightly so, they went from a plan that was supposed to buy the toxic assets, free up the credit market so actually get down to Main Street. They went to a recapitalization program. So as long as they're recapitalizing, we're not seeing any effects of credit being freed up anywhere in Michigan, anywhere in manufacturing, or anywhere necessary throughout the country. So it didn't work for its intended purpose to which it was sold to the American people as. And I think it's also caused problems because it plays to the idea, which I seem to agree with, is that government is a special interest that combines with big business to exert its will, despite, in many cases, the American people.
You know, I still have to stay on the auto bailouts because I'm really, really against it. Hated it. We hated it from day one. And not only because there's 130,000 or so jobs there that were at risk, and we probably could have gotten over that hump, but it was the million pensioners. And for some reason, it just struck me that the government was going to back those pension plans if they failed. And that's a lot bigger, you know, medicine to swallow than 130,000.
Well, it would have been more than 130 because you've also would 130,000 because you also would have had the related manufacturing, smaller manufacturers to supply the industry. This is why Toyota and the others supported it. As for pensions being supported, that's in place already. They wouldn't have been supported for every industry out there that has an employer-provided pension. That's been set up, that's been established. You may not like it, but it is there.
I don't like it.
So that would have taken the cost, but that's part of the cost that would have been factored in had they been completely cut off, too. So the question is, if you don't care about the human suffering of the people losing their jobs, that's one thing. But you can't run the numbers and say that somehow with a chance to get your money back from the taxpayer loan to an industry that I think is critical, or just rather have it go out the door. Now, you can just deconstruct the entire safety net, but I don't know that there's a lot of votes to do that.
And we needed to do the same for Wall Street. It's the same logic throughout.
They tell you it was going to
Some bailouts are good and some are bad. Okay, some are good and some are bad.
All right, fine. Take my money and sell it away.
Stir.
Congressman McCotter. Thank you so much. It's great to see you. Is it true they call you Big Fatty down there now?
They do down here.
Yeah, that's a bar.
Who's your fatty?
Anyway.
Is that the name of our segment?
Big Fatty.
Who's your daddy? Go ahead.
Who's your fatty?
Go ahead.
All right, guys, on tap. Eric.